known as scraps. Today I'm going to share with you a technique that I have been playing with that I call scribbled flowers. In a sense, they're a sketch design, but they're kind of their own thing. I'm not good with a pencil, and that's all I'm going to say about that. But I do like to play with the software. In order to begin my design, I've opened up a blank page in Embrilliance. I am going to now go to my Create Design tools, and this design technique can be done beginning with StitchArtist 1. I have StitchArtist 3, so you're going to see a lot more tools available to me, and I love the fact that I can do so many things in this software, but I'm keeping this one pretty basic. It demands basic. For my outline, I'm going to go to the Design Library, Embrilliance Outlines, right here in this box, down to the Floral section, kind of like I'm shopping. I'm going to scroll down, and I want a pretty basic daisy, so I'm going to select Floral number 3 and select OK. Let me zoom in by selecting my magnifying tool. And I'm going to do a little bit of altering to this to make it look just a little bit more like a daisy. What I intend to do is take each of the cusps, that's these nodes at the corner, and I'm going to pull them towards the center of the flower. Not to the center, but towards the center. I don't want them touching. It's very easy to do. All I'm going to do is select the node by clicking on it and dragging it towards the center. I have my Bezier handles showing, and I'm going to go ahead and round out the petal of my flower. Watch what happens as I pull the Bezier node. If I pull it straight out, I get a pretty long, smooth outline. Perfect for my desires. Again, I'm just going to work my way around the daisy, select the cusp, pull towards the center, and round out the petal. Now, these don't have to be perfect. Nature's not necessarily perfect. Again, select towards the center, elongate and round, select, hold, drag. This one's not too bad. Towards the center and round out by pulling the handle. Select towards center, round out. Last node, in towards center, round out. And I love the look of that daisy. I want to point out one more thing, and that's in the Objects menu. Let's go ahead and select this daisy. I have, sorry about my mail, I have the daisy. There's an Objects and Designs. This has been a real struggle for me to figure out what's what. I know what I'm doing, but just what to call it, so I apologize if I get you confused. The way I understand it, this is my Object menu. This is my design. My design contains objects. If I click on the down arrow for Object or Design number 1, I now have Object 1.1. That's perfect. That's exactly what I want. But what I'm going to be doing is recreating designs, not objects, designs. In this particular manner of digitizing, I need to keep a basic style, and that's what I'm going to be working with. I go back to it from the beginning. So let me do that again. On my design, I double click on the word design, and I change the word to basic daisy. The basic daisy is the basis for everything I'm going to be doing in this technique. I'm not going to be adding to this design. I'm going to be creating new designs. To do that, I have my design, just the design, number 1, selected. I'm going to select Command-C on my Mac or Control-C on my PC. I'm going to click off of it, and I'm going to paste Command-V to paste on my Mac or Control-V on my PC. And what I've done, I now have a second design. At this moment, it's named Basic Daisy, but I'm going to change that. I'm going to name it Daisy sketch. And I'm going to call that good. To recreate or to create the rest of this design, it's really quite simple. I'm just simply going to keep pasting and making some changes. So I have basic daisy, daisy sketch, just as a review. Now I'm going to, because I'm just simply going to paste. Here's why. I've not closed out of my Embrilliance program, so my original copy is still on the clipboard. I could keep pasting till tomorrow and it wouldn't change anything. So to paste, it's Command V on the Mac or Control V. And there you have the basic daisy again. Now remember, we started with basic daisy and we're just going to keep combining and creating and renaming. Double click, so it's Daisy Sketch 2. And Daisy Sketch 2 is going to be manipulated slightly. We're not going to worry about nodes, we're going to worry about size. I'm going to take one of my corner handles and decrease the size of Daisy Sketch 2 just a little bit. Size is a choice. And then what I want to point out next is this red dot. That red dot has to be moved over the red dot on the sketch before it. So for Daisy Sketch Basic, there you have it. There's the red dot. Daisy Sketch 2, there's the red dot. So we know it's at this cusp. I'm going to grab the green handle and I'm going to move that red dot over the cusp. Close enough. This is kind of like close enough for government purposes things. And I'm going to click off. And you can see that I now have two different outlines kind of superimposed. But I want a third. I usually do operate in odd numbers. Again, I still have the design on my clipboard, so all I have to do is paste it, Command V. You can see it's named Basic Daisy, and we're going to rename it by double clicking to Daisy Sketch 3. This time, I'm also going to size Daisy Sketch 3. I'm going to size it down just a bit, but I'm going to rotate it. So I've grabbed the handle, sized it down, and now I'm going to the blue dot, and I'm going to rotate. Again, your choice. The last thing I have to do is move the red dot to the cusp where it belongs. And you'll see why in just a moment. So that's really a very loose interpretation of this daisy. I may have rotated it just a bit much, but that's okay. It doesn't seem to matter in the end. The last thing I'm going to do to have this become one design is I'm going to select the first one, shift, hold down, select, and I'm going to go to my menu, which you can't see, but it's Create, Outline, Combine, Connect Outlines. Create, Outline, Connect Outlines. And it all bounces up to Daisy Sketch number 2, and you can see that there's nothing in my object number 3, nothing in object number 4, so I can actually delete what I created to be Daisy Sketch number 2 and Daisy Sketch number 3. Select them and delete them. Now I have my basic daisy and I have my daisy sketch, exactly what I want at this moment in time. We're going to continue in just a second with the center of this design. Okay, we're going to continue with the design, and what I'd like to show you now is just point out a couple things, like right here, these particular nodes. I'm not real picky about this, but I've looked at it and I've wondered if it wouldn't look better if I just simply select that node and drag it over to be closer. Doesn't have to be on top of, but just to keep defining my nodes in my daisy. And I actually like that a little bit better when all of the the cusps are more aligned. It just, to me, looks like something that might be done. And up here, it's pretty sterile. So I'm going to take, and just on one of them, drag a node out. Now, this is totally personal preference. You don't have to do it this way. It's just a matter of what you want your design to look like. I like that a lot. And so I'm going to leave that as my daisy. Now I'm going to digitize a center for this. So I'm going to go to my design library again in Brilliance Outlines, and I'm going to go to the basic shapes, a circle, and select OK. Circle comes in pretty large, so I'm going to size it down. And I'm going to pull it just to my center because I want it just to graze or be inside the cusps of the petals. I don't necessarily want them to stitch into it. I do need to show you in the Objects menu, if I click on the arrow for design number 2, Daisy Sketch, my circle has now appeared at inside of this design. And I don't want that because we're going to have to rename this as Basic Circle or Basic Center. So I am going to, there's a couple of ways you can do it, but the easiest way for me is to go to Create, Design, Begin New Design, and I have a blank design that has appeared as number 3. I'm going to select my circle and I'm going to hold on to it with my mouse and drag it to where I highlight number 3, and that now becomes my circle. So I'm going to rename that Basic Center because it's the center of my flower. And truthfully, from here the steps are exactly the same as with the daisy. I select my object and I copy, my design. I copy it, click off of it, and paste. Basic Center now appears. I'm going to name it as Center Sketch. I'm going to paste again, click off the object, paste again, Center Sketch 2. The real reason I rename this is so I know which one I'm manipulating. Size it just a bit, and then this one's a little harder to see the node. So let me show you what I've done. I'm going to move on the first one, Center Sketch, which would be this. I'm going to take, select Center Sketch, and I'm going to take that node and I'm for now just going to put it on the line where it goes through the grid lines. It'll be easier for me to find. Now I'm going to select Center Sketch number 2 and I'm going to bring it to the grid line over my drawing line. And now I'm going to paste one more time, Center Sketch. And you don't really, if you don't want to, don't rename them at this point. 3, just makes life easier. Size it. And I throw this one off just a little bit. I'm going to make it a little narrower and drag my red dot over the line. Again, I'm going to select one, hold my Shift key. I have my sketches, not my basic. Select all 3 sketches, Create, Outline, Connect Outlines. Once again, if you look at the Object menu, design number 5 and number 6 are empty. So I'm going to select them both and delete them. And now I've got my Center Sketch and I've got my Basic Center. This is simply, again, a personal thing, but I like to keep my Object menu pretty much organized. So I'm going to select my Basic Center, hold it, and drop it right beneath my Basic Daisy because I want it to be numbers 1 and 2. And that's the basic outline of our flower. Now we can create lots of different things, and it's still in orange, which makes it a little difficult to see. If I really want to see what it's going to look like, I'm going to take my Daisy sketch, my Center Sketch, and I don't have to do it one color, but I like the black. Kind of reminds me of my granddaughter's sketches. She's becoming quite the little 6-year-old artist. Change it to black and say OK. Give my sketch a run. And there you have the sketch daisy. At this point, I can take my center sketch and I can actually locate it where I want it to, instead of having it with that red dot over this, because I've got everything connected now. In the next segment of this video, I'll be sharing with you several different ways that you can fill this daisy. See ya! And the center, and now I'm going to show you how to fill them. On the right hand side of your page, you'll see a basic daisy shape, a basic center. That's what we started with in order to create the sketch designs that you see in the black. Now we're going to use those basic shapes to actually create our fill. So I'm going to select the basic daisy. At this point, it's lying behind the outline, and that's fine because that's really what I want it to do. I'm going to go to my Create Design menu, and I'm going to select a fill. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in so you can kind of see what's happening with the fill on the flower. That would be okay to look just like that, but I want it to be a little bit lighter. I want it to be airy, and I want it to be not so even on the edges. So I'm going to make some adjustments in my Stitch Properties box. I'm going to leave the pattern at tatami and the length at 3.5. I'm also going to leave the pattern. What I'm going to adjust is the background or the underlay, and I'm going to click off Contour and click off Perpendicular. I'm going to return to the stitches, and I'm going to select Travel Edge, and I'm going to select my density and pop it up to about between 12 and 13. And you can see it creates open lines. If you look, you can see this long line with two yellow dots on either end. That's my stitch inclination. Now I can leave it like that. I very seldom do a horizontal stitch inclination. This time I took it up to about, that's about 45 degrees right there. And I think I'll leave it at that. So that's how my flower is going to be sketched, 45 degrees. Now, if you look at the stitch properties, you have on this row, the furthest toggle to the right is Feather the Fill, and I'm going to select that. I want you to kind of watch what's happening on this. The left and the right depends on the inclination of the stitches. I'm going to adjust the left feather at this point so you can see which side with our inclination at about 45 degrees. You can see what happens. So I'm just going to bump it up to 50. And you can see that from this side, the sketch has gone way into the design. Not what I want. I think I'm going to bring it down to 5, between 5 and 10. And I just have a little bit of jagged edge on this side. Well, I want my right hand side to be about the same. And I can tell you that, watch my arrow going from this side to this side. This is going to be my right hand edge of my stitching. So I'm going to bump it up to about 16%. And I usually just play. This is just simply a matter of choice. And that looks pretty good to me. So it's kind of like you take a crayon and you go back and forth inside the outline. If I were to click on the exterior, what this does is over and above the 10%, I'm going to show you on the right hand side, it brings it beyond that. And if you look down here, it actually takes you into the petal of the daisy. So it extends certain parts of that feathering by a little bit more. I don't necessarily want that for this design, so I'm just going to leave both of them at 0. But that's my fill, and it is actually in the right place. I will go to Color, select it, and I'm going to make it a beige gray, partially because I can still see it. Now I'm going to fill the center. So I'm going to select Basic Center. I am going to go to my fillet up at the top with my stitch, the fill stitch. And again, inclination is totally a matter of choice. I'm going to go the opposite direction of my petals, just because I can. The density is 12. Travel edge, making sure there's no underlay. Feather stitch, 10%, so it's pretty much matching what I just did. I'm going to bump it up to 12%, just 12 to 15, just because. And I'm going to change my color to, I'll leave that one orange. I kind of like that. And that's exactly how you will fill this with a sketch design. Remember, it's totally your choice. I'm not going to do much shading because I want it to keep it very, very simple. I hope you've enjoyed this technique, and maybe next time we can do a little bit of something else with these outlines. Oh, before I close off, I'm so sorry. I want to show you the order in which the objects are. I have the basic daisy and the basic center are going to stitch first. The daisy sketch and the center sketch will now stitch at the end. Because these are currently the same color, I could combine them as one design. I'm going to leave them separate because I'm going to actually take a darker shade of what the petals are and do this just like I would if I was using a coloring book. There'll be pictures in the video. I hope you enjoy it. Until next time, bye.